So, just because it's the 2021 NHL offseason does not mean that we cannot take a look at stuff that is going to happen in the future. And that's kind of what we're discussing here in today's video. So, let's head over to Toronto and talk about a guy whose long-term future with the Leafs is all but guaranteed. The contracts, the cap, all this stuff is in play as we talk about Morgan Rielly. Now, this is honestly kind of shocking to me, because as I opened up Morgan Rielly's Elite Prospects page for this video, I realized that he is 27 years old. When the heck did this guy turn 27? Well, he turned 27 on March 9th, but my goodness, time does fly by so quickly. I still remember when Morgan Rielly was out there as a young guy breaking into the league and being the hot young rookie in Toronto, and now he's a point-producing machine. He had 70-plus points one year, and he's 27 now. That is absolutely mind-blowing. But today we're talking about Morgan Rielly because the contract situation with him, hey, it's pretty dangerous right now. The Maple Leafs are in a position where they have themselves a current $0 of cap space for this season. Next year, they're projected to having $13 million, yet they do have to re-sign Ilya Mikheyev, Ondrej Kase, Pierre Engvall, Jason Spezza, Curtis Gabriel, Adam Brooks, Rasmus Sandin, Jack Campbell, and Morgan Rielly. Rielly has an in a sweater. He's making $5 million a year, and he's been making $5 million a year since 2016-17. Back when he signed that contract initially, he was a 20-point guy, 30-point guy, a good defenseman on the back end who could move the puck up. He played for Team North America to start off his new contract, and I think everybody kind of remembers that at the World Cup of Hockey. But ever since that contract was signed, Rielly kind of popped off. 52 points in 76 games in 2018, 72 points and 20 goals in 2019. This most previous season, he had 35 points in 55 games played and 3 points in 7 games against Montreal, where they ended up losing. But overall, Morgan Rielly has been greatly outplaying the contract that he has. $5 million a season for a guy that at his best can get you 70 points in an 82-game year? That is fantastic, especially for a defender. So you have a situation where a guy like this is going to be expiring in a year on a team that doesn't really have too much cap space. So where do you go from here? Do you trade the guy? Do you try to get assets from him? Do you project that he's going to leave your team in the future? So you say, all right, let's just trade you so we can get some stuff and not lose you for nothing? There are different debates to go on about this, but we're going to be heading over onto Bleacher Report right here, where Lyle Richardson, he's the Spectres hockey guy. He wrote a little piece here on August 10th talking about his way too early predictions for pending NHL free agents in 2022. Yeah, that's why I said at the beginning of this video, this is a 2022 matter, not a 2021 matter right here. Either way, you can kind of see in the title and the thumbnail where we're going with this commentary over here. There are a number of players highlighted in this Bleacher Report piece. Sean Couturier, you have Alex Barkov, Patrice Bergeron, a whole bunch of guys here that are indeed expiring contracts, and Morgan Rielly is one of them. So let's go over onto the Rielly part of this piece and take a look at what Lyle Richardson is predicting is going to happen. With a 54-year Stanley Cup drought, okay, that's kind of cold to open up with that, Lyle, come on. The limited cap space of the Leafs would make it difficult to re-sign Morgan Rielly. Their top defenseman, Rielly, is heading into the final season of a 6-year contract, yada yada yada, $5 million AAV. That's been a welcome bargain for the Leafs as they've bumped up against the cap in recent years. However, the 27-year-old will seek a raise worthy of a big-minute puck-moving blue liner. After seeing Dougie Hamilton haul in $9 million a season on a 7-year deal with the Devils, Rielly could set his rights on a similar pact. With a $67.8 million already invested in 14 players for 2022-2023, the Leafs cannot afford to keep him in the fold unless they ship out a high-salaried forward such as Marner or Nylander. The Seattle Kraken could be in the market for a top-pairing left-side defenseman, especially if Mark Giordano retires or departs via free agency next summer. With $54.5 million invested into 14 players, they will have the cap space to make a big splash in next year's UFA pool, similar to this year's signings of Philip Grubauer and left winger Jaden Schwartz. Lyle's prediction right here for Bleacher Report that Morgan Rielly will depart the Leafs and sign a 7-year deal with the Kraken worth $9 million a year. Could this happen? Is this worthy of happening? let's discuss here in this video. So, Morgan Rielly, as we noted, fantastic defenseman. He can rush the puck up. He can do some really nice things over there. The offensive zone is why Rielly's contract is such a big steal at the moment. I mean, the guy is producing a whole bunch of points year in, year out. In fact, let's do 35 divided by 55 multiplied out by 82. He was on pace on a full 82-game season for 52 points in 2021. Now, sure, that's not the 72-point marker he had in 2019, but still, that's really good for a $5 million defenseman. It's just, assuming he does the same thing next year, let's say Rielly gets 52 points in 82 games played in 2021-2022. Is that kind of guy worth $9 million a year? I don't know. We all know that defensemen in today's NHL landscape get a lot more money than they did back when Rielly got this contract initially. Seth Jones, Dougie Hamilton, Darnell Nurse, all these guys. It seems that you only just really need one fantastic year to get a payday, which is what Darnell Nurse had. Obviously, Dougie Hamilton and the other guys, I mean, they've been good for longer amounts of time. You could really debate as to whether or not Seth Jones has actually been good, though. But for Morgan Rielly, with the current status of the market, I would not be surprised if he ended up getting a, I don't know, $8.5+ million AAV contract by whichever team is willing to give it out in free agency next season, assuming the Leafs don't keep him. But for Seattle, oh boy, that's a really interesting one right there. Rielly is indeed from West Vancouver here in BC, so he's probably super familiar with the area because, let's face it, there are some people who don't really travel a lot here in Vancouver, but the majority of friends that I have and people that I know in this area, yeah, they've been to Seattle. Like, it's Seattle. It's just over the border. So, for Morgan Rielly, heading over to the West Coast, it would make sense, in my opinion, for a Seattle Kraken team to really build around a guy like Morgan Rielly. They have some pieces in place where it's like, yeah, you're building for the future with this guy, like Matty Beniers, for example. Philip Grubauer in net, he's gonna be your guy. If you end up losing on Giordano, then hey, Morgan Rielly's coming in here to play. He could be a really interesting long-term fit for any team because, I mean, look, if you're gonna shell out money, big money to any one of these guys that's gonna help you long-term, might as well be a rebuilding younger team, right? Because these are the teams that will stay committed to you. It'd be tough to sign with a competitive team like Toronto or Colorado or whatever if you're a guy like Morgan Rielly in this situation where your contract expires next year. The flat cap makes things difficult, and the entire status of the market makes it so that, yeah, if you take a $6-7 million deal, you'd be losing out on a whole bunch of money. Now, I know, the easy high route is to say, oh, why doesn't Rielly just take a discount because he's been with the Leafs for so long and he's been so fantastic for them? Yeah, I know, it's definitely a valid argument to make. Oh, he doesn't want to be here because he doesn't want to take a pay cut or whatever. It's just NHL players, man. You're a pro athlete. You have a chance to get an extra $4 million a season? Why not take it? All you gotta do is move to Seattle. But obviously, you know, Seattle is just one of many teams that have the possibilities or the funds even to potentially sign a guy like Morgan Rielly. It's just the one that's brought up here in this Bleacher Report article, which is why we're talking about it here. I do think the Kraken do have a few pieces, you know, not a joke amount of pieces that could actually help them be competitive this season, with the bulk of them being acquired in free agency, because we all know how their expansion draft went. And I know, not to say that the expansion draft was filled with all bums, there were a few guys that they completely left off the board that they could have had. Voracek and Domi, and they chose Twarinski and Bayreuther, who eventually ended up leaving. They didn't make the best picks in my opinion, but the ones that they did hit on, hey, I like Jared McCann, I like Mark Giordano, I like Yanni Gourde. I think he's really going to explode next season, that Yanni Gourde. He's going to be fantastic. But either way, talk to me in the comments what you think about Morgan Rielly, Toronto Maple Leafs alternate captain and current defenseman, maybe, potentially, leaving the Leafs next year in free agency if the Leafs don't decide to trade him or trade anybody else to keep Rielly around by proxy. Yeah, it's a pretty big situation over there in Toronto, and it could be signaling maybe the beginning of the end of what is currently their good big contender window. I don't know. That's a difficult question to answer, actually. Talk to me in the comments about that, too. Do you think if Rielly leaves, or if anybody else leaves, Marner leaves, or whatever, and you don't get a return that's super expensive, therefore not really all too great, unless you're getting, like, I don't know, an Alexis Lafreniere or something, which is unlikely, would you say that that significantly closes the window of the Maple Leafs in the short term? Huh, that's actually a video for another day. Yeah, we should make that video soon. Talk to me in the comments if you think you enjoyed this video. Trolls 99. And bye.